It's Saturday, January 17th, 2026, and I want to issue a critical XRP DEX warning. For those of you guys who don't even know what that is, that would be the decentralized exchange that's built into the XRP ledger. And we've had this DEX going back all the way to 2012 when the XRP ledger was created. But we are way behind when it comes to total value locked, which is a term or metric that's used for calculating how much liquidity is in the network. Basically, how much is in our AMMs, how much is in the DEX. And when you look at platforms like DeFi Llama and others, I'm going to show you later in this update, we are way behind many other blockchains. And quite frankly, it's almost embarrassing how low we are on this metric. Now, don't get me wrong, we're still very bullish on XRP. The outlook is fantastic. But the reason why this is called XRP DEX Warning is because I am seriously worried that if we don't get our ledger positioned and ready to go for the Clarity Act and market structure being passed here in America, with other jurisdictions around the planet passing regulations for crypto, we are not going to get the legitimate issuers, the banks, the institutions, the other corporations that are going to issue assets somewhere. And if we don't get our XRP ledger ready to go for those banks, institutions, and corporations, and even small-time builders, we're going to have ourselves a problem. So in this update, we're going to give you the update on Clarity Act. We're going to go into the XRP DEX warning. This is very important for everybody in the XRP community. And even outside of XRP, you got to consider these same metrics and data points for other blockchains as well. Brad Garlinghouse, clarity is always better than chaos, and the industry needs clarity. From St. Moritz.
Clarity is always better than chaos, and the industry needs clarity. Perfection, I think, in my experience, is the market structure bill that's pending in the banking committee, is it perfect? No, certainly not. But is it better than nothing? Absolutely. And I think we need to continue to work constructively with Washington to get and continue to iterate what is already sitting in front of the banking committee to make it better. But we shouldn't give up now. We are so close.
We are so close, and we know it's not going to be perfect. In many ways, this relates to the conversation I'm going to be having about some of these amendments for the XRP ledger, right? I feel like we have some builders and developers and validators that want to see these amendments get so close to perfect that they're holding them back from pushing forward. Now, we don't want to move too quick and break things, but we also can't be holding back the ledger for political reasons and because we're trying to be perfect. Same thing taking place here in DC with this bill that's in front of us, the Market Structure Clarity Act. And yes, it's not perfect. We do have some issues, but I think that Brad Garlinghouse is highlighting an important point here, that we have to move forward with what we have, and we have enough to work with here. We make a few tweaks in the markup process. That's what the markup process is intended for, and we get this bill across the finish line. And the beauty of this is that it really is exposing the banks for trying to come in and take over this space. But the drama here, White House is considering pulling its support for the crypto market structure bill entirely if Coinbase does not come back to the table with a yield agreement that satisfies the banks and gets everyone to a deal. A source close to the Trump administration tells Eleanor Terrett. The White House is said to be furious with Coinbase's unilateral action on Wednesday, which it apparently was not notified of in advance, calling it a rug pull against the White House and the rest of the industry. The White House does not believe that one company speaks for the entire industry, the source continued. This is President Trump's bill at the end of the day, not Brian Armstrong's, the source said. And I think for me, Brian Armstrong, I felt like they kind of jumped the gun, right? I understand they have their own interest. And if they can't continue to pass on that yield for their stable coins, right, that's a big part of how they make their money. And it's a big part of how they're keeping clients with their deposits on the Coinbase platform. And obviously the banks don't want to lose their bank deposits to stablecoin issuers and to platforms like Coinbase. Coinbase is directly going against the banks. And Ripple, some would argue, is as well, right? We've seen the small community banks actually wrote into the OCC suggesting that Ripple shouldn't be given their bank charter license. And so you're starting to see some lines in the sand drawn here. I think what the mistake was, though, my take, is that Brian Armstrong shouldn't have came out and just said, we can't support this bill at all, right? We already saw the Senate Ag Committee delayed the markup vote till the end of the month, January 27th. And the Senate Banking Committee obviously has delayed theirs as well too. But did we need to come out and say we can't support it completely? No, I don't think we did. I think that we just needed to highlight the issues that we had and said that we need to focus on the markup process to get this bill done, right? We're so close to the finish line here, and yet, we got some folks that are really stopping us in our tracks from proceeding at all, and we definitely don't want to do that. And we should call out those who are holding this back as well, too. It's not just Brian Armstrong and what they did. You also got the House Democrats blasting SEC Chair Atkins in a scathing January 15th letter accusing the SEC of dropping 12 major crypto cases, including Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, and Ripple, since 2025, amid massive Trump donations and pay-to-play concerns. This is the likes of Elizabeth Warren. Now, we don't get political here other than to call out what's wrong, and there's a lot that's wrong that's taking place in D.C., and it's done by both sides of the aisle, right? You have these rhino Republicans that disgust me as an American, and then on the left, you have the likes of Elizabeth, I got a plan for you, which really is a plan for the banks, Warren, right? That's who we're dealing with. And it's these people that don't even understand the basics of crypto blockchain technology at all that we're now asking to draft legislation and laws and rules of the road for. And we have them still suggesting that we should be under a Gary Gensler-like regime of, litigation instead of regulation. Very sad to see. And this is why we are at where we're at in America, and it is incredibly frustrating. I get it. And I think that David Schwartz chimes in right here, and I think he, gets at the heart of the issue, which is these politicians are bought off by the bankers, and they don't want a level playing field. Digital Asset Investor says, I'm confused. Why can't the banks just issue stablecoins themselves and join the stablecoin yield party? If you can't beat them, join them. And most of them are doing deposit tokens and stablecoins already, right? So what's the issue? David comments, he says, compete on a level playing field? Are you mad? That's exactly what the banks don't want to do, and that's the issue at hand. So we'll continue to watch and see how this progresses. We knew that there was no chance of the Clarity Act getting passed this month. You have to mark it up, Senate Banking, Senate Ag. Then they will pass the bill in the Senate. They have to reconcile the bill with the version that the House passed, right? Both chambers of Congress have to pass the same bill. So you have some reconciliation to do. And then once that's done, final votes in both chambers, and then it can go to President Trump's desk for signing. The earliest that this is going to get done is probably going to be March or April, and there's plenty of things that could get in the way in the meantime. But that opportunity is just that. It's going to be an opportunity for you to buy these assets below their fundamental value. I was just on my Discord weekly call this morning talking about how across our portfolio, we see tons of opportunities here to ride these assets back up 100, 200, 300% plus without even going to a new all-time high, just recovering to levels that they were trading at before the 10/10 liquidation event or levels they were trading at earlier in 2025. And that's something that we're going to be taking advantage of. If you guys are looking to get tapped in, I just updated my coin review list, my spreadsheet that I've been sharing there, all of my coins that I've reviewed, all of my holdings, and then all of my exit targets, along with all of our content, weekly calls every Saturday. Join our Patreon, sign up there to get access to Discord group. We'd love to have you. But let's talk about this XRP DEX warning. I'm very concerned. We are way behind. When you look at platforms like Aave, which is the leading DeFi protocol in the space, they're over 30 billion TVL. Now, if you look at the XRP ledger, the TVL is about 70 million, but if you specifically look at our DEX, it's at 55 million right now. So the leading platform, Aave, up over 30 billion TVL. XRP ledger DEX, 55 million. It's embarrassing. And we got to do something about it. And what I think needs to be done ASAP is passing a few amendments and then getting legitimate issuers on this ledger. I say right here in this tweet, XRP DEX TVL at 55 million. We need more legitimate issuers of assets on this ledger. Yeah, meme coins can create some activity. We've seen this on Solana, but that activity comes and then it goes. We want something with lasting power, right? It's staying power that's going to be around for a while. And we're talking about legitimate issuers of real world assets tokenized equities, bonds, gold, silver, real estate, private equity, tokenized stocks, all of that on the XRP ledger. But our ledger is currently, in the current state, not ready to implement some of these things, right? You could bring and issue an asset, but having that programmability around that token and around the DEX and the liquidity pools, that is something that we need to build out right now. And we have 4 amendments that we're sitting at right now on the XRP ledger amendment process that need to be passed as soon as possible. It's permission domains, which is only 1 vote away. 1 vote away. DEX, permission DEX. Both of these amendments allow, right, banks and institutions, other corporates, to issue assets on the XRP ledger and build out liquidity pools in a permissioned environment where KYC, AML, and all of that can be done. Basically, you could bring the Swift network onto the XRP ledger in a permission domain on top of into a permission DEX that's on top of the XRP ledger, right? But you can't bring Swift on. You can't bring any networks on until they can do so in a permissioned environment. And so adding permission domains and permission DEX allows these legitimate banks, institutions, and corporates, other builders and companies to bring those assets on and issue them on chain and then have them on chain in a compliant way. The other amendments that we have in front of us is token escrow, right? This will allow you to put other issued assets or tokens on the XRP ledger into escrows. Currently, you can only put XRP in. So if you're a builder and you want to lock up some of your supply, to be a responsible treasurer of the asset, basically, a responsible custodian, right? You could have a circulating supply of your tokens, and then you could put some into escrow so that it would be predictable, it would be transparent. This is an important feature for the issuers on the XRP ledger to be able to have token escrow. Absolutely necessary. And then the last one is batch transactions. This will allow our builders to be monetized, from the small-time builders up to the big-time banks, institutions, and corporates as well too. Batch transactions definitely need it. And we have 4 amendments here. On top of that, the other one is XRP Ledger native lending, right? We need to have lending on chain. That will increase our TVL as well. And so we have about 5 amendments right here, a few others in the works as well. Without smart contracts, we will be ready to go, right? We don't necessarily need to have full-blown smart contract capability. You just add in these amendments, which are bolt-on programmability to the XRP Ledger DEX that we already have, and then we'll be ready to go. And I say here, we still have time before market structure is passed to get this done and have our ledger ready. See, the banks and the institutions, they're doing proof of concepts, they're doing a few things here and there, but the full-blown tokenization of real-world assets into the tens of trillions and more will only take place after the Clarity Act passes. And then they're going to look at all of these chains and these ledgers and determine, okay, we want to issue some assets on Ethereum, we want to issue some assets over here on SWI, on Solana, on XRP Ledger, right? But if our ledger is not ready to go for these legitimate issuers of tokenized gold, silver, real-world assets, bonds, equities, private equity, right? If we're not ready to go, they're not going to come, right? If they can't have an escrow feature, if they can't have batch transactions, if they can't bring their liquidity onto the XRP ledger in a permissioned environment, they're not going to come. And so it's absolutely critical that we get this done. And if you look right here, the website that I use to track this is defilama.com. And here's the full look right here on the XRP Ledger DEX. And I'm going to show you here. We're at 55 million TVL on the XRP Ledger DEX. And that's what's in our AMM liquidity pools. And if you look at the overall XRP Ledger TVL, it's at about 70 million. And that includes some of the other protocols. The CDeFi protocols aren't included in that metric. So like Doppler Finance, which has, I think, tens of millions of XRP parked in their protocol, that's technically locked up in, their own vault in their own program, but that's not tracked in this number, right? There's other, people with there's Open Eden, there's Ondo, right? A few of those efforts, they're not tracked in that TVL because it's not on the XRP Ledger DEX. It's not in the AMM, right? And so what we're looking at right here is 55 million TVL for the DEX, about 70 million plus for the XRP ledger overall. And we need to get that into the billions of dollars, right? That should be our goal for 2026, is to expand XRP TVL and inherently the DEX volume, getting that activity back on the XRP ledger. Now we take a look here. This is the chart, and you can see that we got a big spike at the end of 2024 when the XRP memes went live. And that immediately brought us up to about 87 million TVL. A lot of assets were added to the AMM, and that was a lot of meme coin activity. And then all throughout the year, it kind of bled back down, and then it did pick up back again in July when XRP was topping out. And then it's been moving back down ever since. And now we look here, XRP DEX volume in the past 30 days is only $31 million. Nobody's using this DEX. And what's crazy is you've seen new platforms come on and completely leapfrog us. And so now we're having to play catch up. The opportunity's not lost though. And I want to remind everybody of that, right? This is not a lost cause. It's not like we've completely lost and we have no chance of catching up. No, we do. And I think that we have the best chance of catching up because you got Ripple partnering up with banks, institutions, and corporates who can bring on billions, hundreds of billions, and even trillions of dollars on chain. I mean, just look at what Ripple's trying to do with Ripple Prime, formerly Hidden Road. They have 3 trillion of volume, and they're going to be backing all of that collateral with RLUSD, hopefully RLUSD on the XRP ledger, right? And we can start to use the DEX. Ripple wants to bring on-demand liquidity onto the DEX. Up until now, they've been using centralized exchanges for on-demand liquidity, right? And so this is why you got people saying that on-demand liquidity doesn't drive value to XRP, is because it's centralized exchange activity that's net neutral transactions. Buy, sell, both sides, no impact on price. But when you start to bring that activity to the DEX, into the AMMs and liquidity pools, right, that's when you start to see movement and a correlation with that utility to XRP price, XRP locked up, XRP burned, XRP scarcity, XRP supply shock. You want to have a legitimate conversation about supply shock, we need to get this activity going. And so in 2026, we got to bring the conversation back to utility, back to fundamentals, focused on metrics like this, TVL, DEX volume, liquidity, issued assets, who is issuing those assets, quality over quantity. I don't want thousands of meme tokens on the XRP ledger, although the fuzzy wuzzies and the silly stuff does equate to some activity on the ledger. We want to see legitimate issuers on the XRP ledger. And I hope that we can get that in 2026. We need to get that in 2026 or we will be left behind. But I remain confident. It's why XRP is my biggest holding. It's why I continue to add to my XRP bags. This sucker's not going anywhere. Now, for a great platform to add both precious metals and crypto, our sponsor iTrust Capital has you covered. Metals outperformed in 2025. Who will take the crown in 2026? At iTrust Capital, you can have both. Just saying. I responded, I said, one of many reasons that we love your platform. Take a look at it, folks. iTrust Capital has you covered. My link will get you the $100 funding bonus. And the main reason why I took them on as a sponsor is because we got to get folks access to cryptocurrency and precious metals in their 401k retirement accounts. And so with iTrust Capital, they allow you to roll over your 401k or other retirement account to a traditional Roth or SEP IRA with iTrust Capital. So get it rolled over, get an IRA funded. You have until April 15, 2026 to fund your IRA for 2025. Take advantage of that right now. And they also have the premium custody account as well for institutional custody, award-winning US-based support, low cost, no monthly fees with the closed loop system so you don't lose your XRP. I just had somebody else message me who lost 6 figures XRP to a scammer. So let me say that I'm not going to DM you on any of these platforms. I won't set up any wallets or any platforms for you. Web3 wallet's a scam. QFS wallet's a scam. The Flare airdrops are over. All of it's a scam that they're trying to impersonate me and other influencers to get your XRP. Don't let them do it. And the beauty of that closed loop system with iTrust Capital, it's not even possible for them. So check out our sponsor, iTrust Capital. They'll keep you safe, secure, and allow you to stack these assets while they trade below fundamental value. God bless the opportunity. We're going to continue to take advantage of it. Hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. We'll see you in the next one. and help us out by smacking it on the way out. Subscribe, hit the notification bell if you're new here, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless you all.